We're here at the Italian Cultural Center here at Casa Italia, specifically in the Florentine Room. Casa Italia being the community center for the Italian community in Chicagoland. I'm honored to introduce our presenter today, Michelangelo Giampaoli, who is an Italian anthropologist and cultural heritage curator. He earned his PhD at the University of Perugia in anthropology, where he taught for several years. He is a native of Umbria. Over the past 20 years, he's been involved in the research on cemeteries as places of collective memory, identity, and public education in Italy, France, Brazil, and here in the United States. He is the author of this beautiful book, La Vita Sociale dei Cimiteri. He currently teaches courses on multiculturalism, ethnographic methods, death and dying across cultures, and urban cemeteries in Chicago. He is a professor in the Department of Anthropology at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and De Paul University in Chicago. And on a personal note, he is just a very good man, a very good Italian man. He really is. Very successful, very kind. We're lucky to have him here. And it's an honor to present my friend, Michelangelo Giampaoli.
Grazie mille. This meeting will be in English, but I will start in Italian. Grazie mille, Frank. Grazie Casa Italia, Dominic, e a tutti voi per essere qui. Thank you all in this cold Saturday morning. You're here to hear about cemeteries. You're brave. And I will try to make, and thank you very much, Anna Clara, for helping me with this presentation. You're so kind. And I prepared a PowerPoint, and what I decided to do is adding many photos, many pictures, because cemeteries are often seen through stereotypes, stigma, fear, and one of the things I do is trying to break these stereotypes and show how beautiful, meaningful, relevant, and fascinating cemeteries can be. We will focus on cemeteries and funerary customs between Italy and the United States, but I will also show you a few monuments from other countries where Italians decided to go and find a new home: Brazil, Argentina, France. So hopefully you will enjoy this trip. I will start by saying something on the relationship we have with death, which is not always easy. And this relationship with death is something that unfortunately shapes our relationship with cemeteries. Many people don't go to cemeteries because they associate cemeteries with sorrow, pain, loss, and these people are mostly correct, because unfortunately we go to cemeteries when we have a sad reason to do that. And this is one of the things I keep telling people: don't wait for a sad reason to go to a cemetery. You don't need to be sad. You don't need to be to a funeral. You don't need to be mourning someone to enjoy a cemetery. Quite the opposite. And by the way, death has been part of our lives since ever. I'm from Umbria, from Perugia. And Perugia used to be one of the 12 Etruscan cities. And if you know Umbria, Lazio, Tuscany, most of the Etruscan heritage we have is about death. It's about funerary places, necropolises, the cities of the dead. And if you check the map, the plan of a traditional Etruscan family mausoleum is very similar to the apartments we live on very often. So you have a hall, you have a main room, you have like rooms for sleeping. So very often we forget how much even funerary architecture shaped the way we build our cities and our homes. I don't know how many people who visit Egypt, for example, know that the pyramids were and still are funerary monuments. They are tombs. Many people visit for tourism and they maybe don't realize deeply that death is the main reason we have this beautiful site. Same goes for India. This is the beautiful Taj Mahal in the city of Agra, which is, by the way, a Muslim construction in a mostly Hindu country. And again, it's one of the top tourist destinations in India, but many people don't know this is a grave. An individual grave, by the way, at the beginning, built because of the death of the person who was loved. So this monument, it's a grave. And yes, it's beautiful, it's meaningful. It's about architecture, it's about aesthetics, about sculpture, it's about culture. And death can be all of this. And cemeteries can be all of this. Many people probably visit Paris. And when you go to Paris, you should not miss the 5th most visited place in Paris, which is the Père Lachaise Cemetery. The Père Lachaise is not just beautiful, and it's not just the place where Chopin, Edith Piaf, Jim Morrison, and many Italians, Gioacchino Rossini, Piero Gobetti, Amedeo Modigliani, the Rosselli brothers are buried. The Père Lachaise is the first example of a cemetery built thinking not just about death and the dead, but thinking about the living people. The Père Lachaise was built for the dead and for the living. It was conceived to be a beautiful place, a place where you go and enjoy nature, and you enjoy culture, and you enjoy art, and you reconnect with the dead in a cultural, educational, meaningful way. And the Père Lachaise is the first example of this new way of seeing cemetery. It was built in 1804 in France, under Napoleon, by the way. And the example of the Père Lachaise was followed in many other countries, starting from Italy. This is one of my favorite cemeteries, the Cimitero Monumentale in Milan. There are many cemeteries in Milan. This is the most famous, and for a good reason. It's an open-air museum. Free, welcoming, safe, open to everyone, much more than just a cemetery. Next time you go to Milan, please don't miss the Cimitero Monumentale. It's going to be a wonderful experience. And if you go to Genova, you will visit what many people consider the most beautiful cemetery in the world, the Cimitero di Staglieno. Again, a wonderful example of how nature and human creativity can blend to create some sort of a supernatural beauty. And of course, Venezia, Venice. The city built on the water has a cemetery built on an island, Cimitero di San Michele. Again, probably, I don't know how many million of people visit Venice every year, and I don't know how many of these people include the cemetery of San Michele in the visit. They should. They should. Few places tell you about the city than a cemetery. The cemetery is a powerful, small-scale replica of the city you're visiting. So I will say, especially if you have little time, go and visit the cemetery. You will not be disappointed. And by the way, if you're interested online, it's available. The Atlante dei Cimiteri Italiani Significativi is a free PDF you can download. I can share with you the information. More and more Italian cities are deciding to include their cemeteries in this Atlante. So finally in Italy we're seeing cemeteries as a part of our heritage. And I mean, we don't lack heritage in Italy, right? But still, we feel something was missing. Yeah. The cities of the dead and the beauty they offer to all of us. And the example of the Père Lachaise was followed far beyond Italy. In the UK, for example, the Victorian era, one of the most a la mode things people will do was visiting cemeteries in the weekend and enjoy picnic, walking. And then from France, Italy, and United Kingdom, this new concept of cemeteries arrived in the United States. In Chicago, we have some of the most beautiful cemeteries I know in the United States, starting with Graceland. By the way, we have an ongoing partnership, De Paul, with Graceland Cemetery. The Donnelly Foundation, you may know, they awarded this partnership with a grant. So there are many classes happening at De Paul in which students can explore Chicago through one of the most beautiful cemeteries we have in the city. And again, Graceland is not the only one. Rose Hill Cemetery in the north side, one of the largest urban forests in Illinois, a very historic and a very welcoming place, especially during COVID. During COVID, when many places were like closed because of the pandemic, the lakeshore, parks, bars, people would go to Rose Hill to find a place to walk, to breathe, to jog. 20,000 people on a weekend. Yeah, they had to close the cemetery because it was too many, but it's interesting to see the cemetery becoming an ally in times of pandemic, death helping the living people survive. And since we Italians, we should be proud of our Catholic heritage, Mount Carmel, one of the many cemeteries belonging to the Archdiocese of Chicago, where, by the way, there is a beautiful statue of my fellow Umbrian, San Francesco d'Assisi, San Francis, and who, by the way, we are celebrating this year, 2026, 800 years from the death. This is going to be San Francis here. And Mount Carmel is on hillside, not very far from here, I guess, and one more beautiful place you want to explore. So,
Where is it?
it's hillside. Yeah.
Right on Wolf Road, not, like you said, 5 minutes from here.
5 minutes maybe from here, yeah.
It's got a lot of history.
And now I want to start showing you not just how many things you can do in the cemeteries, but how many things make the cemeteries interesting. It's history, of course. It's the connection we have with our family members, our relatives buried there. It's nature, it's the calm, it's the wildlife, the spirituality, it's the religion. But concretely, cemeteries are some of the most important places in terms of architecture. In Italy, for example, many cemeteries, more or less famous, more or less known, they are wonderful classrooms, open-air classrooms for architecture. You can find any sort of style. Of course, personalities who have shaped the history of Italy of a relevant monument. You have a couple of them here. 19th century Giuseppe Mazzini in the cemetery of Staieno. In Genoa, you can see the relevance of the monument, of the mausoleum, the impact of classical forms. And on the right you have the monument that, in the 20th century, the architect Florestano di Fausto built for the family of Benito Mussolini. You can see the Tomba di Dante in Ravenna, which, by the way, is not on a cemetery, but is built as many mausoleums, many family cappelle funerarie, family mausoleums you can find in Italian cemeteries, a more neoclassical style. And then you can see on the right, in Roma, at the cemetery of Verano, the grave of the famous Aldo Fabrizi and his family, which is a more contemporary style. I'm sure you know Aldo Fabrizi and his sister, the Sorella, which is still today, exactly.
Nice.
They still have a very famous restaurant in Trastevere. I don't know if the family is still owning the...
Yes, but it is Isola Tiberina.
Isola Tiberina, you're right,
Yeah.
Let's go. Look at this. On the right, Milano, Arturo Toscanini, the great composer. Look at the quality of this monument. Look at the architectural importance of this tomb. And on the left, not a personality, but a rich family from a small side city, Perugia, my birthplace. The Vitalucci family, who let the Egyptian art inspire them to have one of the most impressive pyramids in Italian cemeteries. And again, this beauty you can find in France and in Italy, we are focusing on Italy, is something which travel and which you can find in the United States and in many other places where artists, architects, sculptors, mostly Italian, not only Italian, but mostly Italian coming, migrating, they bring with them their knowledge, their competence. This is not an Italian architect, but definitely Louis Henry Sullivan, one of the most important architects here in Chicago, studied Italian architecture. And this is at Graceland Cemetery, the Getty Tomb, which is a Chicago landmark, by the way. These are a couple of other monuments. You may know Cermak, which is, I think, also a CTA station. It's an important place in Chicago. And you can remember the Mazzini Mausoleum in Staglieno. Look at the Cermak monument. You can see how art travels on time. And on the right, the Rose Hill Cemetery, the Adam Schaff Mausoleum, 1904. Again, very similar to many neoclassical monuments you can see in Italy. Well, the pyramid. I wanted to make a focus on the pyramid because it's something you can find in a lot of cemeteries. For example, the one in the middle is the one you saw from Perugia. The one on the left, which seems like the twin sister of the other, is in Graceland Cemetery. The Schoenhofen family of brewers, beer makers. And on the right, it's a smaller pyramid in the St. Louis Cemetery in New Orleans. The owner of that monument is Nicolas Cage, the actor, who's still alive. And it's interesting because many people are thinking about death and start thinking about their monument. So some people decide not to let the others to build their monument. They prefer to do that. And Nicolas Cage is one of the people who already thought about everything, including his
This
pyramid.
seems to be inserted in a very old section of this.
It is. Was refurbished, and unfortunately, St. Louis Cemetery number 1 is very famous, is very visited, but is in very bad shape. And New Orleans is also famous for the cemeteries, but especially as a cultural heritage curator, I think they should do much better in terms of keeping the cemetery in a good condition. It's not always easy. Sometimes you have perpetual concessions, so the family is the owner of the monument. And when the family is gone, when the family is over, when nobody's there, the monument is just crumbling down. But in many, for example, in Italy, in France, and sometimes in the United States, the owners of the cemetery, or when the cemeteries are public, like in Italy, the city, they take possession of the monument because they see the cultural interest and they invest in refurbishing and keeping the monument in good shape. Yeah. And this is Brazil. Because again, the Italians, they travel to many places, you know that. And Brazil is one of the countries with the largest number of Italians. São Paulo used to be a city where I think in the 1930s or 20s, 70% of the population was speaking Italian. Yeah. They had newspapers in Italian, some situation you know in the United States too. And still today it's one of the largest Italian communities abroad. And of course, many immigrants, they brought with them Italian culture, Italian sensibility, Italian aesthetic values, and some of them, they were architects and sculptors. So for example, this is called the Chiesina di San Francesco, St. Francis Little Church. It's a family plot. It's part of the Porziuncola, the church which is in Santa Maria degli Angeli. The statue represents San Francesco. And the sculptor was an immigrant from Ancona, Galileo Emendabili, who was supposed to go to Buenos Aires. During the trip, he was threatened because of his political ideas. So the how do you say, the captain of the ship recommended Galileo, you will not make it to Buenos Aires. Just leave the boat, leave the ferry in Santos. So he went to Brazil, and he became one of the most important Italo-Brazilian sculptors. But again, this is a cemetery in Brazil. And again, in São Paulo, if you travel to São Paulo and if you want to know how Italian the city is, I recommend you visit some of the many cemeteries of the city. Neo-Gothic, Neoclassical, sculpture, architecture, everything is there. These monuments belong to Italian and Italo-Brazilian families who basically shaped the São Paulo we see today. And they're just beautiful, beautiful. And especially in a city like São Paulo, who lost a huge portion of its cultural heritage. Because in many cases, people didn't make the difference, which is important, between old and ancient. So many buildings, many mansions, many even churches that were seen as old, they were taken down and replaced with much more modern monuments. And the cemeteries are some sort of islands who preserve this historical past much more than the city of the living people. And Argentina, of course, another place, another country where Italian immigrants shaped the society, the culture, the cities of the living, and the cities of the dead. So Italian architecture and its influence is so strong in cemeteries much beyond Italy. And together with architecture goes sculpture. And then I want to show you how much beauty Italian sculptors brought to the world. How much beauty Italian culture gave to the world. How much responsible we are for making these cities and towns and societies more beautiful. Maybe beauty will not save the world, but definitely beauty can help. And some of the places where you can find this beauty for free are cemeteries. And I insist on the for free because, well, we live in a country, we know that, where you're sick, you have to be worried about the money you have to pay. Health is not a right, it's a privilege. If you want to study, you have to be worried about the money. Education is not a right, it's a privilege. If you want to bring your family into the Art Institute or the Field Museum, you have to spend about $20, $30 each. And not everybody has this. I mean, so many people in Chicago, they will never be able to have like $100 to bring 4 people into the Art Institute. So cemeteries, they allow democratic access to culture and beauty and knowledge and education. And this is a very important point. You don't need to worry about your money, your credit card. You just need to worry about the stereotypes who prevent you from visiting a cemetery when you're happy and not sad. So let's go and see how much beauty we have in these cemeteries. By the way, one thing we do not know in Italy, how much beauty we have in cemeteries. We start realizing that. We start building a Atlante, a catalog of this beauty. But most of the sculptures who shaped these beautiful cemeteries, who made these beautiful cemeteries, are virtually unknown to the vast majority of the Italians, not to mention abroad. So I will share this presentation with you. I will recommend you pick each one of these names and you Google them. And you will see how much hidden beauty we have in Italy and how much beauty Italians gave to our country and to others. This is not a museum. These are not the halls, the rooms of a museum. These are family plots in Italian cemeteries. Perugia and Milan, the Monumental. Look at the quality of these monuments. Look at the quality of this art. Look how much information you get from these simple, beautiful monument. Think about the meanings. Melancholy, sadness, memory, family, tradition, love, sorrow, pain. Think about the information you have about the dress code of the time. Now we have photos. We take so many photos, maybe too many photos. At the time, you know how people were dressing because of the quality of the architecture. Look at the capacity of the sculpture. I don't know if you know this beautiful place in Napoli called Cappella San Severo with the Cristo Velato, this wonderful statue of Jesus covered by a veil. If you go to Napoli, don't miss the Cappella San Severo. And many people say, oh my God, I've never seen something similar because of the quality. They don't visit cemeteries because, trust me, you can find almost exactly the same quality. And the information cemetery give about how a society is organized. This is not just about creating a beautiful bronze statue. This is about highlighting how important is women in Italian family, the relationship between a mother and a son or a daughter, the centrality of the mamma in Italian culture, the importance of family, the importance of showing family ties, the importance of touching. We Italians, we like to touch, hug, kiss, and we think it's natural, but the first thing you learn in anthropology is natural means cultural. So many times when I came to the United States and I met non-Italians, hey, I'm Michelangelo, nice to meet you. Who are you? Like, keep your distance. The touching, expressing through the contact is a very important part in Italian and in other cultures. And again, a non-Italian, a foreigner visiting Italian cemeteries can learn a lot about our culture, about the importance we give to Mama as a central part of our families, the importance we give to the family, the importance we give to the relationship between different generations. A student of mine told me, what happens to the elderly in Italy? I say, I don't know, it depends on the family. Hopefully they have a nice life, but I can tell you what doesn't happen. We don't send like old people in like segregated places. We try to keep them at home because we believe that old age is not a sin, it's not a guilt. It means experience, it means love, it means memory. And also, cemeteries can provoke and stimulate reflections which goes beyond what would you expect from a cemetery. When I talk about beauty, I also talk about the physical beauty, the naked beauty, which should not be a problem. The Greek culture was all about the beauty of the body. Kalos kai gathos. Mens sana in corpore sano. We should not be ashamed of nudity because it's natural. And many artists in cemeteries, they represent the naked body in a very beautiful and powerful way. And by the way, important, cemeteries were places that allow artists to experiment for the same reason that is people don't pay attention to cemeteries. People don't really, are not interested in what happens inside there. So I'm a young artist. Many of the most famous artists we have, Michelangelo, in the history of Italy, Bernini, Canova, they start with funerary art. Funerary art is not just about creating beauty, it's about training your capacity. So you will find a lot of emotion in the beauty of cemeteries. The kiss, again, how much Italian is the kiss? Oh, Why are you kissing me? I don't know you. That's the reason why I want to know you more. Let's create a bridge. You know. So, visiting an Italian cemetery and seeing how many statues represent people kissing, once again, you learn a lot about this beautiful aspect of our culture. The kiss doesn't necessarily imply physical attraction. It's much more than that. It means we belong together, we are part of the same community. It's a way of welcoming you. And some of these monuments are really so beautiful. I mean, the photos show the beauty, but you should go there. Milano, the Monumento Volontario. This, and nobody knows Emilio Quadrelli, unfortunately. But if you go to the Cimitero Monumentale of Milano, you will be amazed by the emotion this kind of monument creates. It's just beautiful and powerful. Also because this is not just any kiss, this is the last kiss.
Yes.
So the most important. The one which will never end. Sort of a final connection. This is even more than just kissing, this is hugging. This is a cemetery in Verona, 1914, Ruperto Bantelli, Anelito Fuggente. Life is going away. The person I love is going away. I will never see that person anymore. He's going forever. I grab this person. I don't want my lover to go. I want to fight death. And I know I'm losing. And yet I grab that body and I want to keep it with me. All of us, if we have lost someone we love, we know how much we would like to hug that person and not let that person go. Well, Roberto Bantelli made our sensation real in such a powerful, powerful way. Milano, again. This is bronze. And this is a wonderful monument in inspiring so many things. You can see a circle. Life is a circle. You were born, you die. It's also like a hole. You pass through a sort of a gate. And the human figure becomes water or nature. What did you do in cemeteries? You interpretate. That's important. When you visit a museum, very often you have the monument and the explanation of the monument, which is relevant. They tell you how to read the monument. In cemeteries, you're the one who can find whatever meaning you want. The freedom to decide how to read the monument. There is not one reading of this monument. There is one beautiful, exciting, fascinating monument, and there are so many possibilities to connect to that. And by the way, again, Italian artists travel. This is the United States. This is not Italy. This is Italy in the United States. This is New York, Woodland Cemetery, the outcast, one of the most famous sculptures in the cemetery. And by the way, there is an interesting website on the Italian influence of the... Oh,
You wanted to go back now?
thank you. The Italian influence of the Woodland Cemetery. Another information you may not have. More and more people in the United States too are exploring the cultural, the educational potential of cemeteries. So if you're interested, start Googling the name of the cemetery, start looking for information. There is a lot. France. This is an Italian, Sicilian, Domenico Tarantacosta, I think he was from Palermo. And this is a allegory, a representation of pain, la douleur, il dolore. With one difference which is important. Depending on the language, words can be masculine or feminine. In Italian, il dolore is masculine. In French, it's a feminine idea, la douleur. So the visual representation of pain is a beautiful, suffering girl. And this is one of the most beautiful sculptures in the cemetery of Montmartre in Paris. Brazil, the same Galileo Emendabili. How beautiful is and how meaningful is the family, the immigrant family, arriving together. How many monuments to the immigrants in the United States that represent the family? The father, the mother, the kid. And this is the same, together until the end, together until death and after death. Not even death can destroy the Italian family. Speaking about kisses, this is Brazil, and this is another Italian sculpture. Very few people know Alfredo Liani, and this is one of the most beautiful sculptures in the cemetery of São Paulo, the Ultimo Adeus, the last goodbye. Same here. I'm kissing, I'm hugging. I don't want this person to go, I want to stay forever, I don't want to lose this person. And the artist catch the moment, makes immortal death, makes something which is going to die immortal forever and available to all of us. And Argentina, a few examples, speaking about another country where Italian culture is relevant. Again, I'm trying to share many photos with you to show you that it's not just one cemetery in one country or in one city. All cemeteries are relevant, and many cemeteries, they really deserve your time when you explore a city. It can be Chicago, it can be Milan, Florence, Venice, Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo. Don't forget the importance of cemeteries. And now from art to society. This is a beautiful photo I found online. How important is, by the way, we are Casa Italia, the community, to stay together. How much we like to organize events, to stick together. The big, loud Italian family. I remember we're 5 brothers, poor mom, by the way, at home, and then cousins, and cousins. We don't know how many cousins we have usually, but it's a lot. Yeah, and we stick together. And many of you know that in context of migration, you do it even more, because you're more fragile. So, in life and in death, you stick together. Many Italians who arrived, for example, in the United States, especially at the beginning, it was hard to have money and the possibility of building a grave. Many of us, we already know where we are going to be buried because we have family plots. I know where I'm going to be buried, in Perugia, you already know that. Probably most of you already have a family plot in a cemetery. But at the beginning it was not that easy. They had to figure out how to do it. And by the way, community making, they will create beautiful mausoleums, not for me, not for my family, but for my community, my cousins. This is New Orleans Metairie Cemetery, and this is a range of mausoleums built by several Italian societies of beneficenza, helping the living and helping the dead. Termini Mary is in Sicily. Thank you, Anna Clara. This is Contessa Entellina, which is near Palermo. Look how beautiful and big the monument is. In this way, you're not alone in life and you're not alone in death. Your name will be there. You're going to be remembered. The community takes care of the living and of the dead. New Orleans, yeah, St. Louis Cemetery #1. This is, by the way, I'm so happy, this is one of the few monuments in that cemetery which is crumbling down, which is in good shape. It's the monument to of the Italian Mutual Benevolent Society Tomb. It was last refurbished in 1987, and it needs some intervention, but it's in good shape. And again, community bringing together identity. Yeah. Buenos Aires, same thing. Another latitude, so many miles south, the same need. We are immigrating, we're moving, we're establishing. We still don't have the power to find necessarily a family plot. We still need each other very much. That's what happens. We stick together. And by the way, if you go to Mount Carmel Cemetery here in the hillside, you have the Bishop's Mausoleum, which is the similar approach. The bishops of Chicago, they have a sort of a community space where they can stay together after death, the Bishop Chapel. Now, in Italy, this is one of the most important things, la tomba di famiglia, the family plot. Again, in context of migrations, you may not have the means to build it. Now you do, because Italians, by the way, I'm very, very happy that the Italian communities are extremely positive example of successful migration and integration. I remember reading, I don't remember who gave me this article on the New Orleans lynching, the one who gave us, by the way, Columbus Day. And we all know how complicated was the beginning of the Italians in the United States. Dominic, you write books about that. And so the beginning is never easy. And then when you establish yourself, you build a home. By the way, you find a job, you build a home, and you try to build a second home in the city of the dead, a grave for my family. In Italy, there was not this need for like establishing, so the tomba di famiglia, the family plot, always was so important to keep the family together even after death. So you have so many mausoleums with a family name. And this is, if you're interested, the very, very typical layout of a small-sized Italian cemetery. You have the entrance, you have the church, the chapel, and then you have the family mausoleums and 4 fields in the middle. Usually bambine, bambini, the poor, and some religious orders. That's the scheme. But le tombe di famiglia are such an important part of Italian funerary landscape. And this is a recent photo I've taken, it's exactly the same. It's not just in the past. You have the family plots, you have the chapel, and you have like the 4 sections in the middle.
Where is this?
Hmm?
Where is this?
This one, this place.
Where is
Well, this is Umbria. This is a small town between Assisi and Gubbio. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, recently they are getting rid of ground graves for space reasons.
I will get there. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I will get there because that's an important change. And I don't know. Oh my God. And by the way, they are trying to increase. They're trying to increase the size of cemeteries, keeping this need to keep the family together, the mausoleums. But we are running out of space. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. In Chicago, for example, again, this is Mount Carmel. In the United States, we have plenty of space. Most cemeteries are green spaces here because you have space. We don't miss space in the United States. This is a photo I've taken, and I like this photo. It could be an Italian cemetery in Italy, like so many Italian families, Di Stefano, Ferrone, and so on. When people visit the cemeteries, the families connect with their dead. And by the way, speaking about Mount Carmel, one thing I wanted to mention, if you can go, I was so shocked. I was so shocked to see that people still believe Al Capone could be a nice face for Italians. I mean, our community produced so much better people than Al Capone.
Exactly.
I mean, people go and visit and pay tribute to Al Capone. grave.
And for all we know, it's not even there.
In the
That's not the point.
Because there is, what, 5 monuments throughout the United States?
Exactly. But that's it. And go ahead. I mean, I can understand. You visit the grave of Amedeo Modigliani in Paris, and you leave, I mean, paintings, and you're proud of it. Go ahead. You visit my cemetery in Perugia, and you find the grave of Aldo Capitini, the father of the non-violent movement in Italy. La non violenta. You know, we do a Marcia per la Pace, a march for peace in Italy, from Perugia to Assisi. And it's from Perugia to Assisi because it was blending the two souls of Italian pacifism, the Christian and the secular. So,
This year, the ACLI offices have gone throughout all the regions of Italy, from
Exactly.
La Pace, La Pace.
exactly. So I'm happy to see people visiting Capitini, celebrating peace. I'm disappointed when I go to Oakwood Cemetery in Chicago and nobody visits Enrico Fermi's grave. I mean, you bring flowers and candles and bottles to Al Capone. Okay, Fermi led to the atomic bomb, but let's be honest. We are celebrating one of the most important scientists in the world history.
Well, he died young, huh?
And he died young, probably because he was working with nuclear reactions. And I mean, you don't blame Alfred Nobel for inventing dynamite, for what people do with dynamite. Okay. Well, people blame Columbus for everything happening now, so. But, so, you see, Al Capone becoming the most visited Italian grave in Chicago, and nobody goes to Enrico Fermi and say, why? Why? But do you know Monterizzo?
No.
Okay, I will not tell you, it's a crazy, fascinating story. Go online, and it's buried at Graceland Cemetery. And look, the shape of the grave will tell you something about him. It's in Braille, you know, the blind people alphabet. But it's a very, very fascinating story. Another thing cemetery do, they tell stories. So, if you have the time, remember this name, Monterizzo, is at Graceland Cemetery. Google, it's a very, very fascinating story. So, what's the problem? And we are running to the end of this presentation. We're running out of space, especially in Italy. It's a big problem. And not just in Italy. This is Brazil. This is the tallest vertical cemetery in the world. 14 stories. Pelé, the famous Pelé, is buried there. So Brazil is a large country, right? And they start needing vertical cemeteries because they're running out of space in big cities. Chicago, we have plenty of space. You know how many cemeteries we have in Cook County? More than 250.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, yeah. And yet, cemeteries start building mausoleums and vertical cemeteries. We're running out of space. So if this is happening in the US and in Brazil, think about Italy, which has the same size than Arizona with 60 million people. We've been running out of space since ever. This is one of the most famous examples of the new conception of cemeteries. This is Modena. And by the way, Dino and many architects, they know this building because it's so famous. It's like a new concept of cemeteries. A colleague of mine told me that people in Modena, when they are like in their 80s, 90s, they start moving their residents to other cities, like nearby cities, because they don't want to be buried there, because it's ugly.
Yes.
And I understand them, I don't like it, I'm more classical. But beauty needs to make space to logistics. We don't have space anymore. So we are sacrificing beauty to make space to everyone, to space. Yeah. And by the way, this is an old story in Italy. If like vertical cemeteries are new in the United States and in Brazil, in Italy since ever we went vertical. I mean, lack of space. This is the new section of the Cemetery of Perugia. I feel it's ugly. Sorry, with all due respect. But this is what they have to do because there is not space left. So, less space, less beauty, I don't know if less, the same meaning. Why? Because even with small space, and even within a really not beautiful and nice environment, people decide to create beauty, which is like a...
It's become utilitarian.
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, a lot of people, they keep making whatever they can more beautiful than it is. You just give me like a square, I will make that square unique and beautiful.
Yeah, I photographed one in Taormina, just like that.
It is.
Yeah. The tribute, you know, it's a nice little tribute.
It is. It is.
Wish I had the photo to show you, but I don't have it with me.
And again, it's about remembering, it's about making individuals unique. This is not just one of the 2,000 cases. This is my grandpa, my daughter, my friend. Sometimes, even couples cannot be in the same place. You know, yeah, but in some couples it's not a problem if you don't share the same room. It can be good for the couple, I mean. But, and the interesting thing is not that you have individualistic society, individual plots, but you have people challenging this individual plot. The family put the same photos on the two, and the same, like, this is probably tangerine, yeah, and the same tree, and on her, you have so many, the mocha, yeah, yeah. Please don't. And again, this is, I mean, this is like one more example of how people humanize and customize monuments. Again, you give me little ugly space, I'm Italian, I can make it beautiful, I can make it meaningful. And sometimes cemeteries also remember us about the fact that death is not just an old people matter. So child mortality is not anymore a big issue but still exists. So I was of course I covered the name, but I was very shocked to see this grave, which is a child grave, and in the place of the photo they put the
Ultrasound.
yeah. But again, I will not do that probably, but this is not my space, this is theirs.
It's powerful.
It's powerful,
Yeah.
it's meaningful, and it's different from any other. And it makes you think. I'm not a sculptor, I don't have a big space, I don't have a lot of money, I don't have beautiful materials, but still I want you to have a powerful experience in the cemetery. And this is what people can do. And by the way, the United States too, some important people were built in vertical cemeteries. This is Marilyn Monroe and Adolfo Valentino, our fellow Adolfo. This is Hollywood, Los Angeles. But again, this was the exception. And by the way, Los Angeles and San Francisco are like some of the few places in the United States where people are really running out of space. There are no cemeteries in San Francisco, by the way, you know that. Because like it's you need space for the living. But more and more, this is New Orleans, people will need to adapt to the new circumstances, to the fact that the beautiful lawn, the beautiful landscape cemeteries will not be like the natural way for all of us, because again, we're running out of space. And this is what can help cremation, which is a new, relatively new. In some cultures, it's like since ever. If you go to India, you know, cremation is the natural, again, cultural, logical way to deal with a dead body. The Ganges River, you have the banks of the river with people constantly burning bodies. And by the way, it's another mental landscape. You don't go to heaven. You reincarnate to another life. But in our American and Italian context, cremation was not natural, was not logical, and had to face the resistance of many people, starting with the Catholic Church. For a long time, you were not supposed to burn the body. By the way, Islam, Orthodox Christianity, no question. The Catholic Church, if you want, is one of the more open to change, and yet they make a lot of rules. Recently, Pope Francis sort of eased some of these rules, but this is still the official document from 2016. Cremation is tolerated. And the main reason why cremation is tolerated is because the church understands in Italy there's no more space. So you need to reduce the size of the body. And also, thank you, Anna Clara. One of the reasons why cremation is not completely accepted by the church is because for a long time in Italy, cremation was an anti-Catholic practice, was an anti-Catholic statement. In a mostly Catholic country, if you want to show your ideological identity, I'm not Catholic, I don't believe, you will choose cremation. Especially in the 19th century, the Society for Cremation was absolutely part of an anti-Catholic and secular movement. In Perugia, we have one of the oldest societies for cremation, and Aiodante Fabretti, which was a man of the Risorgimento, fighting for making Italy united, was also fighting for cremation. Because many of these people, they just didn't want Italy united, but Italy united and possibly without the Pope, without religion ruling over the life of people. So, for example, now, many people in Italy are choosing cremation so they can still find a place in the beautiful ancient cemeteries which are crowded. This is the Mausoleo Palanti, one of the most famous monuments in Milano, monumental cemetery. And the only way you can get there now is by being cremated. So your urn will not occupy much space. This is, by the way, where Walter Chiari, the famous actor Walter Chiari, is resting in peace. This is also something involving my family. This is my family plot. It's not a plot, by the way. It's a vertical, it's a floor of a 5 stories wall. And this is my paternal grandpa, paternal grandma, my grandpa and my grandma. And they were not cremated. Their coffins were put beyond this. And then something happened. My dad, he died in 1988. And my mom at the time, she bought, by the way, in Italy, perpetual concessions don't exist anymore. It's been many decades since it's really hard to buy a perpetual concession, lack of space. So you buy a 5, 10, 20, 30 years concession. And after that, you exhume the body, you cremate the remains, and you do something else with the remains. If you have a smaller place, you put the remains there. If you don't, they go to the general ossuary. So my dad, by the way, they left my dad quite, because it was supposed to be removed, in 2018. But the city of Perugia, they were not saying anything. Then COVID happened, and in the middle of COVID, they need space. So they called my mom, you have 1 month to do something with the body. Otherwise, we will cremate it and bring to the common ossuary. And then my mom organized things and was able to travel to Perugia. We opened the niche, we cremated the remains of my dad, and we were able to put my dad together with the rest of the family thanks to cremation. So, I don't want to be cremated, not for ideological reasons, because I don't want to, I don't know why, I don't. But I appreciate cremation because gave my family the opportunity to put my dad with the rest of the family without worrying about finding a new plot, finding a new concession, and so on. And by the way, this is perpetual because it was bought before in the 1960s, when it was still possible. So yeah. Grayson Cemetery, look at how beautiful it is. Look at how big it is. Grayson, this is in the heart of Chicago. I mean, you see a lot of nature, a lot of trees, a lot of space. Yet, please, Anna Clara, they're running out of space too. So they start building cremation spaces inside.
You can open, I mean, you can...
You can, they open for me because we have a good relationship. Oakwood Cemetery in the south side of Chicago, the one where Enrico Fermi is. Plenty of space, beautiful. And then they have a vertical structure where more and more people are cremated and they have their... Another important thing, one key aspect making cremation interesting is the money. Funerals can be very expensive, especially if you don't think about them in time. So funerals are some of the most expensive things we have to pay. So cremation can be like a cheaper way to deal with this important moment, and finding, again, the same thing, maybe a smaller place that people start decorating. People say, it doesn't matter the size of the monument, what matters is our capacity to keep connection with the dead and make the space as beautiful as possible. And finally, there is one more level, it's not just cremation, it's being cremated and having your ashes scattered everywhere. In Milano, you have the beautiful monuments you saw 45 minutes ago, and you have this sort of lawn in which you can scatter the ashes. And this is something you can do if you want. No monument, nothing, just coming back to nature in the most neutral, invisible way possible.
Yet with the Catholic, whatever disposition is, provisions you shouldn't do.
Exactly, exactly. But go ahead, I will show you one thing. This is another Giardino memory garden in Perugia, same. You can have your ashes scattered in this like neutral space. And in Chicago, the Archdiocese of Chicago is opening their first cremation garden in a cemetery. Which means, one more time, the Catholic religion understands that things are changing, customs are changing. People maybe seek cheaper or like less impulsive solutions, so they are opening a cremation garden here in Chicago. And this is also to avoid this, because once you cremate a body, you can do everything you want. In the United States, if you want, you can have a tattoo made with the ashes of a dead person. Oh yeah, you can.
Be a firework.
Firework, you can have jewels. There is a society which makes like records, vinyls, with the ashes, and you have the voice of the dead person like speaking. That would be cool. I mean, but definitely, you can see why the Catholic Church, for example, is opening a cremation garden, because between this and the cremation garden, let's at least keep them in the cemetery, right? So finally, to conclude, what happens? What will happen if people start not seeing the cemetery as the only logical place for the dead? What happens when more and more people decide to cremate and scatter the ashes in the ocean, scatter the ashes in a forest, make jewels, make fireworks, make tattoos? Few people have sent their ashes to the moon. There is a space society which sends the ashes to the moon, if you want.
A bit expensive.
I don't know which one. So, is the cemetery dying? Will the cemetery die as the only logical place for the dead? Yes, probably yes. Especially because in our multicultural America, more and more people don't see death and the cemeteries the way we saw them. You know, some Muslim cemeteries are currently building in Illinois and in other states. Because if you follow the Muslim rule, you cannot share the same cemetery with other people. You have to be buried in a specific cemetery. Some people in the United States now, they come from India, from China, from cultures where cremation is the only way. So they don't really see the cemetery the same way we do. And that's not necessarily a problem, just culture is different. So what happens to the cemetery? The way we see it is going to die? I hope no, because we don't need necessarily to have dead people in a cemetery to visit it. Because the cemetery never was, and hopefully never will be, a place just for the dead. It's a very vital place. There are books showing how beautiful it is to go to a cemetery without thinking about death. So probably the cemetery will die as the only place we think about when we think about placing our dead somewhere. But the cemetery, I hope, will be very much alive in being this beautiful, meaningful, spiritual, natural, cultural, educational place we have been discussing today. And thank you very much. Sorry, it was a little bit long, but I wanted to share a lot of photos with you, because if I talk, I mean, yeah, but if you see, you're much more invited in seeing these places. Yeah.
You shot all these photos then?
Huh?
Did you personally shoot all these photos that you?
80% of the photos are mine, 20% I found them online or some friend gave. The nice thing, friends know I love cemeteries, so when they travel, hey Michelangelo, I went to Greece and I saw a cemetery and I went there and they took photos. So they send me photos from all over the world. I'm very happy. Yeah.
You were speaking of how tastes and things are changing as far as burial, cremation. Younger people today, most of them of course haven't died, but those who have, where do you find them wanting to be interred, cremated? What seems to be moving forward?
That's a very good question, Alice. Thank you very much. And I ask this question because one of the classes I teach at De Paul is Chicago Historic Cemeteries. And the purpose is showing first-year students Chicago through the cemeteries. So we go to Graceland, to Rose Hill, to Oakwoods. And the first thing, many of them, their first experience in a cemetery is with me. Like on a class of 24 students, like 8, 9, the first time they go to a cemetery is with me in class. Which is very, very, it was at the beginning weird to me. Because I mean, besides my family, my personal experience, I lost my dad very soon, but most of people my age I know, you were going to the cemetery. I mean, I was going to the cemetery with my mom to see grandpa, grandma, so we had a much more domestic relationship with cemetery, which seems to me they don't have. Also, some of my students, for example, they come from very different backgrounds. So I have Muslim students, and some of them are girls, and they tell me that in Islam, if you're a woman, you're not supposed to go to a cemetery. It's not necessarily a place you want to go. And still they take this class. And I'm very happy about it because we respect the religion, we respect the culture, but it's important you learn the world is beyond your own religion and culture. You challenge yourself. Also, many of my students, they don't think about that. They don't think about that because, first, we don't die at home anymore. We have been like separating death from life. I don't know how many people do you know now who are like dying at home.
My late wife died at home.
Okay.
I brought her. I don't want her to be in a hospital or
Exactly.
What is it? Hospice. I wanted her to be with me where she wanted to
But
be.
many people do. Many people die in hospitals and hospices.
Carla's late husband also.
Exactly. And many people don't even see they're dead. They go to the funeral and the coffin is closed. So we don't have anymore this proximity with death, which is also positive. I mean, our life is easier than it used to be. In some areas of Chicago, I mean, even in some Italian areas of Chicago, death was very present, violent death, and now it's different. So they don't think very much about death. Interesting, they don't think about the real death. Because many of them, they play video games which are very, very filled with death. They watch Netflix series and movies, and they do the same, which are all about death. So we like death when we have the mediation of the screen. The screen sort of protecting us. But the real death, we don't talk about it. And also about the what to do with the body. I ask questions and they don't know about. Some of them, which I like, they say, I want to donate my organs, which is a positive thing. When it comes to what to do with the body, what do you want to... Yeah, especially if they are not very religious, they just, I don't know, like it's not my business. And technically it's not, because you will be dead. So it's going to be someone else's business.
Well, that's the old Italian mentality. Oh, we don't have to worry about it. When I die, you'll take care of it.
Yeah, right. Leave some instructions.
C'ho una domanda un po' seria, ma prima comincio con un'altra domanda. Ne ho due da conoscere. What do you think the style of mausoleum that Mr. Trump will build? And I ask that question because I wonder what the primary impetus is for these cemeteries. Is it tribal? Is it religious? Is it ego? Is it psychological? Why do we have cemeteries?
Well, where do we want to start, with Trump or with the second question?
Trump was just an introduction.
Yeah, well, Trump, I have no idea why, and honestly, I don't care. He can do whatever he wants. I mean,
I'm implying that part of this is ego.
oh, definitely. I mean, if you do politics, you have a big ego. I mean, I never met a politician who doesn't have a big
But
ego.
I'm saying even these cemeteries are a reflection of ego.
Yeah, definitely. And not just the ego, it's also the legacy you want to leave. You want to leave to the others. But for example, we're talking about Trump because we are here in the United States, but Silvio Berlusconi, which was Prime Minister of Italy for many years. And he built like a sort of a similar mausoleum in a property he has in Italy. So definitely ego. Also definitely, again, decision-making people. I want to decide everything, including the kind of mausoleum I'm going to have. So sort of a continuation. I don't want anyone else to choose for me. And why we need cemeteries? Again, we start needing cemeteries for logistical reasons. That was the basic one. We needed a separated place where the dead bodies could be in peace, resting in peace, without the risk of, for example, spreading like disease or being like eaten, the bodies by wild animals or desecrated by other humans. So the cemetery starts as a very logistical need. I need a space for the dead. And it becomes a cultural and social space. So it starts with death, but it's much more than that. The moment we transform a cemetery into a museum, it can be like the city museum, it can be my family's small museum. It's not just logistic. It's not just like I need a place for the dead. The cemeteries actually are, I would say, 50% for the dead and 50% for the living people. Because the dead, they don't need anything. They need peace. Who need the cemetery are the living people. Who need the symbols. Who need the epitaphs. Who need the crosses are the living people. So yeah.
I was gonna say with the baby, with the ultrasound.
Yeah.
So my whole family's at All Saints Cemetery in where's that? Des Plaines, yeah. And so normally you go see the dead people that you know, right? You don't ever travel, but if you go, like, cause I don't know, I get bored, so I go and investigate the whole. I just look around, and the statues they have are beautiful, like the windows, but it's interesting because I got off the elevator because I was gonna go find the bathroom. It was like a different elevator than we normally do, and I see right off the elevator, it's like a wall, and there are all these little spots, and there's no flowers, there's nothing, and they're all babies.
Oh, wow.
They're all like, they have like, 1992. That's the only year that's on there. But it's just interesting because that's where they put the babies, next to the elevator where nobody goes.
Yeah.
It's like almost like hidden, like they don't want to think about it, or like the parents don't go back and look at it because it was painful. I don't know.
Trauma, yeah.
Yeah, but like, because everyone else is, you see, there's names, there's dates, but these just, it's very sad.
And by the way, thank you so much, just to put it into a historical frame. Historically, the vast majority of the babies who are dying, they will never get an individual monument.
Right.
By the way, individual monuments, they tell you something about the increase on the quality of life. For a long time, you had mass graves. And only the rich, only a few portion of the society will have the right to an individual grave. And then even when we start including like more and more people in the possibility of having individual graves, children, for example, in Italy for a long time, if you were not baptized, you will not be able to be in the same cemetery. So the children are particularly a relevant category because they show our fragility as a society in many ways. It's about the balance between the religious rule and individual pain. It's the balance between the most awful thing which can happen to a couple, to a person, to lose a baby, and then they need to go ahead. So it's a very... And now what I see in Italian cemeteries, some of the most decorated graves are children graves. One thing I notice, sometimes they try to, especially in the mausoleums, they try to recreate the child room into the mausoleums. You know, puppets and posters and photos, and yeah. And I've been working with cemeteries for maybe 25 years now, and I confess, and I'm absolutely fine with death and dying. But when I walk through like children's sections, that's the most complicated part still today. Because I know it's natural, I know it's part of the history of humanity. If you go, by the way, another thing cemeteries do, they are wonderful archives. If you want to know about the history of Chicago, go to Graceland and check the archives, like their ledgers. And they have like free access sometimes. And you have the cause of death, and you will see how many of the dead were children. Like child mortality was the #1 cause of death in the past. And the vast number of them, they will never be just remembered. And by the way, to mention the forgotten dead, think about people dying in psychiatric asylums, in prisons. So there's a huge amount of people which don't even have that small, poor, simple spot near the elevator. So that's already something, even if it's sad, and I completely understand that. Yeah.
Michelangelo, can you think of something that's uniquely Italian about the culture's approach to death, dying, in cemeteries?
Something which is not maybe unique, but is very, very, very Italian. That's the first thing. The funerary photo, like the photo of the person on the monument. Here in Chicago, I spend a lot of time exploring cemeteries. At Graceland Cemetery, you basically have very few Italians. And you have very few funerary photos, very few photos on the grave. If you go to Mount Carmel, or like it's filled with, so to put a photo, a picture of the deceased is very, very Italian. So you can tell like 90% is an Italian family. And another thing which is very Italian, I don't see here in the United States, is for example, the annunci funerari. When a person dies, in the walls of the city you have this like these white flyers or posters with the name, and that's very, very Italian, the communication of the death. It seems to me that, for example, here death is often a private affair, like the family. While in Italy, death is something you want to share, to announce. So the two things which come to my mind are like concretely the photo, the picture. I have a huge database of photos taken in Italy. They're beautiful. Beautiful because through the photo, you can really tell a time. Especially the oldest photos, that was the only photo the person will take in the life. Like the wedding photo is the same photo you have in the tomb. That's the only photo the person will take, and so that's very, very Italian. Together with this,
Well, I'm sorry, you choose your own photo. You tell your family, I want this photo of my grave.
But until
It's
about,
very
I would
common.
say, 20, 25 years ago, photos were not allowed on graves in America.
and now they are.
In Chicago area,
Okay,
now they are.
interesting. Yeah.
They were not allowed. The only cemeteries that used to allow were Greek cemeteries.
Yeah.
Interesting.
How do you call in English this annunci funerari, the one you put in the walls in Italy?
Funerary note.
Funerary notes? How do you call them?
Announcement.
Announcement. That's so Italian. I mean,
Follow Cumberland Chapels on.
yeah.
Also the fact that we regularly visit the cemetery.
Yeah.
Not only November 2nd, everybody goes, but all those flowers, because people when I go to Italy, the very first thing I do, I go to the cemetery.
Right, me too.
Before coming back, I go
Oh,
to the
yeah.
cemetery.
Yeah.
I know.
It's very, it's this continuum
Yeah.
of corrispondenza that you keep on having a relationship with your beloved.
Yes,
one.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention, sorry, that some of the most beautiful examples of Italian literature that involve death and cemeteries. Ugo Foscolo. It's a poetry, but a Zacinto. A Zacinto is a beautiful sonnet by Foscolo, we were talking about it, and it's all about the lack of a tomb and the struggle, the suffering of the poet knowing he will not have a grave in the maternal land. Even Dante. Dante's journey is a journey to death and the afterlife, and many others. So, I Promessi Sposi, Alessandro Manzoni, yeah, Renzo and Lucia and Don Abbondio, but it's all about the presence of death in the society, the epidemics, right? La peste nera. So there are so many masterpieces of Italian literature having cemeteries and death as a key element of their relevance. Sorry, yeah.
There are two things. About the bishop's mausoleum at Mount Carmel. It's only open when an archbishop or cardinal dies and the public can go in. And I went in there when Cardinal George died. And it's really impressive because they imported mosaic workers from Italy to build this in 1912. And it's, most people never see it. You know, I've seen it twice in my life. It's open for a month at a time. The other thing is every day in the winter, or every other day, I walk in the Mary Queen of Heaven Cemetery, mausoleum. And it's striking that if you go to the mausoleum built in 1954 to 56 before Vatican II, it's rich with the Tridentine iconography and art. And then you go outside and you look at the mausoleum that was built in the 1980s. And it looks like a filing cabinet for the dead. And you can see, you know, it's much more Protestant in appearance than the enclosed mausoleum. But it speaks to changes within the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got to be honest with you. The Tridentine mausoleum is much easier on the eyes than the filing cabinets outside. Also, they have a Jesus made out of stainless steel. You've got to see him. He's the meanest Jesus I've ever seen. I'm not kidding. First of all, he's got a medieval crown, and he's looking down at you with his mouth open like he's giving you the stink out. You know, it's really you know, when my stepdaughter saw it, she said, "Oh, Bob, questo fa schifo." You know, this is disgusting.
Let's say that's the exception that confirms my rule that beauty is available in cemeteries.
Thank you. It was a wonderful talk.
I just wanted to thank you, first of all, that was just fascinating. I want to take your class.
I know, me too.
You know, you mentioned the Piccirilli brothers, who are very famous sculptors and that, but also, I mean, there were so many, not that high level, but were still skilled sculptors that came over from Italy, and there's this huge community in Barry, Vermont, that was a huge amount of Italians that went in there, were responsible for making most of the monuments in that area, and had a huge contribution. There's a beautiful novel called Like Lesser Gods, by a novelist named Mari Tomasi that it's fiction, but it's based on her actual oral interviews during, she was a WPA worker, and she did oral interviews of all the Italian stone workers in Barry, Vermont, and created this novel, fictional novel based on their experiences and their love for the craft, because many of them succumbed to silicosis. And the central character, it's his love of wanting to work on these monuments while knowing that the work he did could potentially kill him as well.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah, so like Lesser Gods by Mari Tomasi.
Yeah. And by the way, what you were talking about, like the US, but in Brazil too, you have an immense number of marmorarias, marble houses, which nobody basically remembers, but were basically all Italians, especially in the south of Brazil. And that's also a economic, cemeteries and that were also an important economic resource for Italian immigrants. Think about you're a skilled young artisan or artist, you come to the United States and you can go work in the mines, like the cherry mine we saw with some of you. You can go and work in the fields, or you can try to put your qualities at work and create. So death and cemeteries were a wonderful opportunity for some skilled, like young people, to establish themselves in the United States without necessarily doing the hardest jobs. And some of them, you're absolutely right, they became popular and they created like a fame which is still relevant today. Again, in Brazil, if you want to study the history of funerary homes in São Paulo and like funerary architecture in São Paulo, it's an Italian history, basically. A good aspect, one more contribution of Italian immigrants to the Brazilian culture. Yeah.
They became pretty because their skills were needed, they were able to organize politically, and they had a union, and so the Italian stoneworkers of Vermont were responsible for a lot of the improved conditions that spread to other industries afterwards, because their skills gave them a voice to be able to push for better work conditions, which spread throughout. So there's a fascinating
so interesting.
history.
It is. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, there's a video too called "If These Stones Could Speak."
Which goes to the cemetery where a lot of the workers themselves were buried.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Don't
we
forget
have it in the
Luigi
library.
Galliani's
Okay.
Followers, many of them
Thank
were
you.
Bear Vermont and stoneworkers.
Yes, that was Barry Vermont, the stoneworker. They still have a house there.
Absolutely, the anarchists were strong up there, and they had a profound influence.
They had successful strikes for
Yeah,
better
yeah,
conditions.
Well, when
They won.
They won.
when I told you the story of this Italian young sculptor from Ancona who was trying to get to Buenos Aires, he was actually threatened by anarchists in the boat, and so the captain decided to let him go to Brazil. But politics were always there. Yeah.
Dominic, did you want to make an announcement about?
I'm
so sorry.
In ancient Egypt, outside of tombs, they would have what we call stela, and the stela is actually the precursor to tombstones. And if you look at it, they don't really talk a lot about the person. The person's there. Oftentimes, he's giving offering food to Osiris and some of the gods, but it mentions their name. And they'd be outside of tombs. And the Egyptians believed that by walking by and saying someone's name, it allowed them to continue into the afterlife. But markers that we think of now as graves actually goes back to ancient Egypt.
Yeah, which is also something I forgot to mention, just 1 minute, but it's interesting. Going back to ancient Egypt and Rome, where people, for example, also buried meaningful animals, non-human animals. One of the things which is keeping the funerary industry alive currently is the burial and the cremation of pets. While human beings are more and more deciding to avoid cemeteries, more and more non-human creatures are filling cemeteries. And depending on the cemetery, you can have an open policy, like you can have your pet buried with the family members, or you cannot. So many states in the US are seeing a growth of pet cemeteries. And if you check online, the amount of money who like circulates in the pet cemetery industry is crazy, because it's not just like cremating. We had a dog in our family in Italy. When he died, we gave the dog to the faculty of veterinary, the university. They used for scientific, by the way, donating the body to science. This is something many people do, but we mostly did with non-human animals in Italy. And then they will take care of cremating the body. And so now, more and more people, and this is maybe another aspect of urban loneliness. Our urban life is more and more lonely. So for many people, the best friend is not human. It's a pet, it's a dog, it's a cat. So when this dog or this cat dies, you want to give this creature all the love you can. Again, check the numbers of the pet funeral industry in the US. It's a huge amount of millions of dollars. It's not just cremating, it's monuments, headstones, symbols, visiting. It's so people will say crazy, and some people will say fascinating. My personal opinion, I love pets and dogs. I still think there should be a difference between like what we do for humans and what we do for, especially considering how many humans struggle in our cities.
Yeah.
So before you invest $20,000 in a pet grave, you should probably think about the many humans who have no access to school or education and so on. But it's a big aspect of funeral industry now. Pet cemeteries. Yeah.
Good business. And cloning and taxidermy too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the beautification of the body. This is true for humans and not.
Creepy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that
I'm
was a
going back
real
to-
treat for us today.
Thank
And
you.
let's
Thank
give
you.
another round of applause.
Just quickly, going back to storytelling, you made me think about very interesting trip that I experienced in Louisville.
Kentucky.
Yeah, Louisville in Illinois.
Oh, Illinois.
Illinois, thinking about Edgar Master's Anthropology cemetery, and a wonderful place and a wonderful experience just visiting the towns.
About literature.
Yeah, about literature, about storytelling, about people actually existing. You know?
Correct. Yeah. È vero. È vero.
And, it's from a social point of view, witnesses.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay, I do have some announcements.
Thank you.
And also, we've got some focaccia type of stuff up there for those who are going to linger with us, which we encourage. Also, we have our book. If we don't have your email address, you don't know if we have your email address, please sign this so we can keep in touch with you. We won't spam you too much. And for next week, we have a stellar appearance by yours truly. I'm going to talk about my childhood remembrance of Life with Luigi Mosco, the radio show that was very popular at the end of the 1940s and early part of the 1950s. It's a mixture of my childhood memories with my research and writing as a professional Italian-Americanist. Also, in 2 weeks, what do we have in 2 weeks?
We have the great Don Fiore, who is going to give a presentation on, I believe, the Risorgimento in Garibaldi.
Oh, wow.
And Don, if you don't know him, I mean, he's just brilliant. As Michelangelo was today, we're continuing with brilliance, and it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, he's had a lifelong attachment to Italian history and culture, and he's a Franoi columnist who probably read some of his stuff in the Franoi. If anybody wants to write to me or write to Casa Library @gmail.com, and we'll send you copies of the full Sabato Culturale. I see in the room we have two of our instructors for a famous immersion class where I don't see them in. Oh, veteran and newbie immersion in 21st?
February 21st. February 21st. Yeah.
Okay, you have to swear to speak only Italian, and if you were born in Italy, then you're sort of welcome too. But we're looking forward to that too. It's always been a big pleasure to have immersion day here at Casa Italia. So hope to see you quite a bit. We're here every Saturday morning, so join us.
Thank you. Thank you.